Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Welcome back. Happy Friday. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Friday to have some fun, to break down all the pro wrestling news of the past 24 hours. The only TK in the pro wrestling business that means anything. It's TK Trinidad. TK, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, we got a lot to get to here, everybody. Real fun, exciting 24 hours of pro wrestling news. Some interesting bits to get into here. Later on in the show, if you're listening to us in audio form, you're going to get to hear my interview with Chavo Guerrero. Now, I don't know if you saw this week, TK, but Chavo got removed from the AEW roster. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. However, he's kind of like a mainstay in wrestling overall. So
Right.
I feel like he's, he's if he wants to go somewhere else, he'll be fine.
Well, here's the thing, TK. Since you didn't hear that Chavo's not, you probably didn't see that it was news to him as well that he was not on the AEW roster. He tweeted that out, and you would think he'd be able to call Tony Khan, work it out, what's going on here, because like you said, he's a mainstay. This guy's a legend in the business, right?
Right.
Why did this miscommunication happen, TK? You're going to find out about it here today. You're going to find all about it, why this miscommunication happened, why Chavo is no longer on the AEW roster, what happened here. You're going to hear it from the horse's mouth. Chavo Guerrero gave me the exclusive. I love it. And if you're watching us in video form, right after we're done here today, right at the 5:30 Eastern mark, you're going to be able to watch the Chavo Guerrero interview here on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. So when TK and I are done, jump over there, watch that. If you're in audio form, you're going to get the same experience, right? I know, right? It all lined up here today. End of the show, mailbag for everybody. We'll take a look at Sunday's AEW Revolution. But without, I'm sorry, in the chats. If you want to chat. Go in the comment section, right? Is that good? I don't know if I shilled that correctly.
Put a comment there, and we will look at it and see how we feel.
They're scientific here today, right? If you give us this variable, we'll work it into our graph. No, there's a lot of great people here. Tons of people talking already. Esteban here, greetings from Oddville, Florida, which is a real place.
That's an interesting name.
I know. I bet everybody walks around. They got shoes on their head and hats on their feet. Welcome to Oddville, Florida.
Sounds like a Dr. Seuss book.
We have the man, I guess this is Becky Lynch, saying, I wouldn't be shocked if Cody or Seth beat Brock for the title tomorrow. Madison Square Garden set up Cody versus Seth for the WWE title at WrestleMania. That's kind of, there's a, they're really, we're not quite in the news segment here, but since the man wanted to jump in and drop this little gem in our lap here in the intro, there is this MSG show tomorrow. They're teasing something funky's going to happen. What do you think? Do you think there's a possibility we get a big twist on the road to WrestleMania?
With the amount of money that they're paying Brock and the limited amount of time that Brock has on the contract, and the fact that Brock doesn't really give an F whether he comes back or not. Like, it's like, all right, y'all don't want me, cool. I feel like money-wise, they can't waste that investment. So yes, it would make sense if it was like, if everybody was getting paid equally, and there was no one of that stuff where like Brock goes and disappears into Canada and we don't see him for like 2 years. If that wasn't a thing, then yes, I would love to see that. However, we have Brock for a limited time on a contract, and if I were the powers that be fronting him the money or paying him to do this, then I would not just say, all right, we're gonna make this twist, and you could keep the money. Like, no, like we have to utilize Brock as long as we have him for.
And I agree. And the only way to do it and have it make any sense was if you run back kind of what happened at the Rumble, where Roman maybe to aid of Cody Rhodes, like they screw over the Beast and the Beast is all angry again. We just saw that, right? We just saw that.
Yeah,
you don't want to do that again. Too screwy.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if Cody Rhodes, and I know we're going to get into that, but just him showing up is news enough. It's just how he's going to show up and where he's going to show up and the storyline that he's going to be inserted in. Like that's what we're waiting for if
All
that
right.
happens.
Well, TK's right. I don't know why we're, beating around the bush here. I think it's time for news you can use. News will leave a bruise. Yeah, let's talk about Cody here to lead off our news block. The Observer saying WWE's creative team actively working on return plans for Cody Rhodes. No time frame for Rhodes' return to WWE, but unless the deal falls through, Rhodes will be returning soon. Now, Bodyslam.net, this other outlet last night, our good friend Cassidy Haynes, love Cassidy, he said Cody Rhodes' conversations with WWE have fizzled. Now, we saw Cassidy's report last night. A lot of other outlets picked up that report. I asked that we wait because it was so out of left field from like what everybody's been hearing and just what I've personally been hearing. So I wanted to kind of see how that simmered overnight. I'm glad we did that. So we have other journalists coming out, not just Dave, but others, saying they have not heard the same thing about the conversation between Cody and WWE fizzling out. So just to give all sides, that's why this whole thing became another conversation overnight. But my gut says Cody comes back to WWE, and I still think he'll do something at Mania, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, to me, there's like two big pillars. You have obviously the big one, which is WrestleMania, and then you have SummerSlam. And I feel like we have a lot going on for WrestleMania, so that could be like they already have their storylines and stuff like that. And let's be frank, like WrestleMania is a couple of days. There's a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of people. The conversation would possibly fizzle out if you're trying to coordinate a whole WrestleMania. Like it's not something that, even though, it's a year in advance, we know where it is. All the little nuances is not an easy thing. So unless he's going to be part of the storyline, and even that because I feel like you just can't, unless he just shows up and he makes his appearance like, Becky Lynch did in SummerSlam, that would be fine. But if it's like a storyline and he's actually going to have a match, then that should be happening. I mean, I guess this week. You still need you need some type of buildup, and I feel like there's not enough time to do that because we already have a full roster that they don't utilize at as much.
Well,
so
there's only one way that you're right. There's been no build. There's very little time to do any build right for Cody right now, but there is one spot right now that has meaning and could maybe work. And that's obviously the one that Vince set up yesterday with Pat McAfee, right? Now, the big to-do was that Vince, at 865 years old, was going to step back. I'm sorry, I don't mean that, but he's very old. I didn't know
863.
Right, 863. Apologies. So he's an old. People were worried about Vince getting into the ring, right? And him McAfee didn't really sound right. People were like, well, maybe you justify it. You have theory doing some stuff. That to me, and I'm not trying to be punny here, that to me could be the smoke and mirrors. That to me could be the red herring. Everybody's talking about Vince and, we're going to bring in Austin. That doesn't really ring it. Maybe all this noise is building to Vince coming out tonight on SmackDown. Maybe he invites Pat to Raw to introduce him to his opponent for WrestleMania. But Vince saying, I told you I was going to find you appropriate competition for WrestleMania. I looked beyond my own roster to find somebody I thought, could really deliver on the grandest stage of them all. And maybe Vince brings Cody back, right? The son he never had, the good one, the non-failure, right?
True. I mean, that is that I would not mind that. But
okay,
I
right?
I feel like Cody Rhodes is going to be like the product, like you were saying, the prodigal son, right? And if they were going to do that, that to me would be like a one-off, and that's fine. But I feel like there needs to be a build-up. This is the return of like the lost son. He's got sold. He's now back. He's here to save WWE, get the ratings, all that stuff. So, I mean, that sounds good because I think somebody said Vince is 76, which is not bad. That's kind of young in some people's eyes.
Elizabeth here. Yeah, Vince is 76.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I definitely feel like Vince can take a few to the head still. he's still in good shape for, you know, better than the average 76-year-old. But yeah, I don't mind that. I just feel like Cody deserves more. If he is and is planning to come back, I feel like there needs to be a buildup to something big.
Hey, I think the match we all want to see, Daniel Price laying it out. American Nightmare versus Stardust versus Dashing Cody versus Neck Tattoo. 4 Faces of Cody match. Sure, why not? The other thing I wanted to bring up here, and this is a kind of a silly thing, maybe, right? But the Body Slam report also said that Cody was maybe trying to, you know, maybe things fizzle with WWE. Maybe he comes back to AEW. Maybe because Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor now, maybe you make Cody like the guy running Ring of Honor. You could build this kind of internal feud between Tony and Cody Rhodes.
Right.
I have an interview with Bill Apter that's going to drop on Monday. He pitched that in a way that was more framed as kind of like a joke, but then this report came out, and I was like, who's hearing what right now? I don't know. Does that do anything for you if Cody came back? Maybe not under the AEW umbrella, maybe under the Ring of Honor umbrella? I don't know.
I mean, I thought that too, but you know, and then correct me if I'm wrong because there's a lot of stories floating around. But the reason why Cody like parted ways was a money thing, right? So now, if it's a money thing and they just bought ROH, then they invested money in ROH. So that means if they didn't have money before ROH to pay him, then they probably don't have enough money to pay him now. And then, you know, we don't know the version of ROH that we're gonna get. Is it gonna be the version of ROH where it's just like it stays the same and you know it's very untouched, which I don't think is gonna happen because Tony Khan doesn't seem like that type of person. So I think ROH is gonna morph into something, and that's gonna take money.
Yeah, I agree, and it is like how much money is he generating right now? Is it one of those things where it's like we're gonna make the money back later because he's expanding very, very rapidly? And look,
right.
I think Netflix is still technically like an in-debt company, right? I think I could be wrong on that, but there's like major businesses that operate in debt with the assumption that they will be worth more. And you know, I think some people look at that model and say, what an insane human being, but I don't have the kind of money it takes to run an indebted company that people will still give me money for. I'm not quite living that American dream yet, unfortunately, TK.
Yeah, they say it takes about 3 to 5 years for a business to actually like start flourishing, like any business. And you know, you can start with $150, you can start with $150 billion. It's gonna take money to produce all this stuff, all the talent, all this stuff. So you know, he might not be in the red, he might be breaking even, but as far as making a return on income or return on investment, I don't think he's there yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tony Khan. I might be totally wrong, but you know, it's gonna take time, and like the fact we see it all the time. You see people comparing WWE to AEW. WWE has been around forever, so they can afford to make those mistakes and go ups and downs. AEW still they're still trying to figure out the roster, the storylines, and the behind the scenes finances is a whole nother thing too. I mean, if the thing was correct with Cody Rhodes and not being able or not deciding to pay him the money that he's deserved, then that's speaking to something to allow him to like, here you go. Like the mainstay of AEW. Like the reason why people started watching AEW is one of the reasons because of Cody Rhodes.
We don't know the whole story yet. You know, I do think that Tony has given us a little glimpse into kind of more of what happened here. I thought it was a great question on the media call. I forget exactly who asked it on Wednesday, but the question about why didn't you pick up Cody's option like you picked up the Bucks option and like supposedly Kenny Omega's option, but we don't have a confirmation on that. And he said it was because I didn't want to just pick up an option. I wanted to negotiate with this guy to see if he would stay longer than these options because maybe I was getting the vibe that this guy was 1 foot out the door. Like if I picked him up for another year, is he operating at full capacity? Is he fully committed? Right. So there's more to this. I mean, at least on the surface, it would seem because I don't, you know, money is a very big thing. Very big thing. We're talking about people that have lots of money, though. There's a little bit of ego here. There's a little bit of like creative disagreements definitely going on in a space.
Of course. I mean, you know, being the thing of asking somebody to pay what you think you're worth versus somebody paying you what they think you're worth and then say, okay, I want to pay you this amount over this amount of years. Like we see it happen in NFL and NBA and I don't know too much about NHL, but those two contracts, those two leagues, the most. Like, it's like, we're going to sign you to this for 10 years. But like, wait, so over 10 years, I'm making essentially less. So, I mean, we don't know. Money is money.
Right.
But, you know, we don't know how people are operating their life and their lifestyle and how that's going to fit in.
Well, lastly here, I'll bring this up from MCAS before we hop off into other subjects. But he says ROH, or they say, I don't know what MCAS is. Man, woman, I have no idea. Maybe you're a monkey with a little hat typing on a keyboard. I don't know. There's no profile photo. Ring of Honor is going to be its own territory. TK Khan, not going to book it, but will just oversee it. They just need a media outlet for weekly television. I don't know. Tony's pretty hands-on. He might book it. But the thing about the television outlet, we don't know that there's still not a connection there with Sinclair Broadcasting. Dave alluded to it as well in the newsletter today. I was hoping he'd have a little clarity, but he's in the dark, like all of us, still about like exactly what the details are of this agreement. Because when I was hearing about people trying to buy Ring of Honor here in the past few months, the idea that Sinclair wanted to stay in the pro wrestling game and air this content, but not have to be on the hook for it, was absolutely broached. And so there's a chance that Tony has syndication for Ring of Honor, the same syndication they had. Maybe he'll just use it better. Maybe he'll leverage it better. Maybe he didn't want that. Maybe he's going to try to flip it to Turner stuff. I don't know, but he might already have a suitor there with Sinclair. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, anything's possible. I don't think that Tony's gonna the initial. He's just gonna watch and see. I feel like he's going to have a hands-on approach, and you know, shepherd it to where he sees fit to get get back or recoup the money that he's invested. You know, so yeah, well, we will see. Like, this could be AEW 2.0 NXT type version, or it could be ROH as we know it. We just don't know. I just hope that there's still going to be remnants of the ROH that we knew versus something totally different.
All right. Well, moving past the Ring of Honor news here, we were talking about Cody and WrestleMania a little bit. The Observer saying as well, there's not going to be any battle royals at WrestleMania this year. No Andre Battle Royal, no ambiguous female battle royal. How do you feel about the battle royal being taken off the WrestleMania this year?
It just makes me wonder what they're going to insert in it. Like, do they have a surprise for us for that? Because it's TV time on top of that. So it is TV time that was there like last year, the year before that, etc. So what do they have planned? And you know, WWE always has something planned. Like, it's WrestleMania. Like, that's just like, you know, your wedding and not having a plan.
I wonder if they move away from because it was getting a little silly the past couple of years where there was they'd be like, we're going to do a battle royal. We're going to do a 4 tag team match. We're going to put 9 people in the ladder match, right? There was like all of these matches on top of each other that had an unnecessary amount of people in them.
Right.
You know, I will say this about this year's card. It's shaping up to be just a high-end, like, good card as of so far, right?
Right.
I mean, the women's tag match, right?
Yes, it looks great.
It just looks. It doesn't sound like they're gonna make it a fatal 4-way. It's just gonna be Sasha and Naomi versus Zelina and Carmella for the titles, and I hope they get time. And it's a good match. Maybe getting away with these getting away. I know it's gonna mean some people not getting on the card, and that's unfortunate. But this is theater, right? You know, this is where you showcase your greatest talents of the year, supposedly the high points of the feuds you've been building to. I'm kind of in favor a little bit. I think it's going to make for a better Mania this year.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see WWE has been talking about it even when they moved to the word entertainment. This is the Super Bowl of wrestling, and when you have the real Super Bowl, it's the 2 best teams. So I agree with you. It's like unfortunate that, you know, with the Battle Royal, you get to see, you know, people that we haven't seen get a moment, you know, some time to shine, but to just make everything. I feel like WWE is trying to streamline everything so it's more palatable for not just the wrestling fans who watch it every single day, but for somebody who, you know, they're bringing their family to WrestleMania just because, and it could make sense to them. So I think that's what they're trying to. It's going to be way more entertainment than wrestling. And I don't mind it. I definitely do want to see wrestlers get their shine, but I also understand.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a couple back-to-back items here that are not great. First one, easily the most trafficked item of the past 24 hours on the site, was done in a matter of seconds by Nia Jax thumbs on a Twitter keyboard. So Nia decided to tweet the following thing yesterday, which got a ton of tweet and caused Becky Lynch to unfollow her. She tweeted, all these MFs saying, I stand with Ukraine, couldn't even stand for their own personal rights for 2 years because they were scared to breathe, which is a really bad Mad Lib. And I don't totally understand it, but I see why it's offensive and people are upset about it. I'll say that. That's all I got on this one.
I mean, yeah. This is kind of like the catch-22 that we're in with social media and the society. There's freedom of speech, and you have access to your Twitter, and you can say whatever you want to say, and then people get upset for somebody saying what they want to say. So Becky Lynch has more than the right to unfollows. Like, I don't agree with it, and people have the right to be upset with Nia, and Nia technically has the right to say whatever she wants to say, and know that there's also backlash.
Yeah, accountability, right? So anyway, that happened. You all ate it up. It did crazy traffic. I shouldn't say ate it up. You all had your interest in it, and many people gave their takes. All right. Lastly here, Michael Elgin is taking Impact Wrestling to court. The former Impact star filed a lawsuit against Impact February 8th, Circuit Court of Davidson County, Tennessee. Real name Aaron Frobel. He's seeking not less than $5 million in compensatory damages, accusing Impact of a material breach of contract. The lawsuit stems from Elgin's disappearance from Impact in June of 2020, following the revelation of several sexual assault allegations against him during the Speaking Out movement. Initially suspended by Impact, Elgin was ultimately never used by Impact again, with the promotion later stating he was removed from all programming. The basis for Elgin's claim goes back to a conversation he had with Impact EVP Scott D'Amore in June of 2020, shortly after Impact announced the termination of wrestlers Dave Crist and Joey Ryan, who were also accused during Speaking Out, and the suspension of Elgin, pending an investigation into the allegations against him. Now, in the lawsuit, Elgin alleges that D'Amore told him days later that there was going to be no investigation into the allegations. He further claims that D'Amore reiterated this stance in a December 2020 email, which has been entered into the lawsuit as an exhibit that stated the company's decision not to utilize you in further programming was not based on any investigation beyond the public discourse and your responses thereto at the time. Elgin's also alleging that Impact canceled a scheduled December 2020 appearance with Japanese promotion Pro Wrestling Noah, and claims Impact damaged his reputation in Japan by doing so. So this is like before we got in the air, I tell you, I was like, I grew up, at the time it was the sticks of Texas. Now it's a bigger city. Mm-hmm. This is this is the pigs laying in mud thing, right? Everybody seems to be dirty in this situation. Mm-hmm. I'll just say real quick, do I think there's merit to Mike's case? It's up for debate. This guy did get paid through his 2 years. He was never fired. He was just taken off of TV. He took money, but at the same time, he feels like, other people maybe were given different treatment than him. And that's what I think this really kind of comes down to, is I think Michael, much like when Joey Ryan lashed out in the courtroom when he realized there were not a lot of avenues for him left, I think Michael is lashing out, only unlike Joey, by naming D'Amore and entering these documents in. I think he's kind of setting the stage to maybe be pointing the finger at some other people here because of this case. If he can't get money, I think he's, like I said, the mud thing in the beginning, I think he's going to want to throw a little bit here. That's all this comes across to. I don't know what your thought is here.
I mean, with those type of situations, it just depends. Depends on what the initial contract or agreement states in it. And if you, as the other party find a little bit of loophole. I mean, you could take it to court. Maybe the lawyer is saying, well, I'll take whatever you possibly make. So there's that investment. Then also putting your name in the wrestling, name sake of things right now. So, I mean, it just all depends on the writing, and it all just depends on what the contract says. Like if he's already paid out, then what is he really like fighting for? There is damage of character, but then why isn't he naming the people that had these things to say about him? Because that also speaks to it too. So that you have like defamation of characters. Like, why aren't you? I'm not suggesting you don't go and do that, but like, why aren't you? Because they were the initial reason of why you. So if you're not going after them, but you're going after the organization, that sounds, well, what are you? Are you just pulling for straws because you're not doing anything at the moment?
All right, TK. Well, thank you for joining me at the top of the show to talk all the news of the day. A lot of fun chatter, some tough chatter, but you know what? Hey, we're on the other side of it here. We're gonna have a great time in the mailbag.
Friday.
And I want to thank Chavo Guerrero for that awesome interview. I'm not gonna maybe say too much because I know in like 3 minutes it's gonna premiere over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel, and you're all gonna want to jump off from here and go right over there and catch that and share it. It's a very good interview. But yeah, I kind of teased at the top, but Chavo's like a little upset that Tony Khan did not like take his calls. Chavo called Tony to try to work this out, and like Tony ghosted him, and just such a weird.
That's never cool.
Yeah, it was just so bizarre to have like a level-headed conversation with Chavo where he's just like, yeah, he's like, I work for Vince, and like he's a billionaire too, and he takes my calls. Works for The Rock, also a billionaire, I think now. The Rock takes Chavo's calls. I guess
maybe Tony was on the plane, or he was doing other things, and maybe that's on his to-do list. It's like he's next week on Wednesday, like to call him.
I'm not telling everybody to take to Twitter and ask Tony to call Chavo, but if you want to do that, and tag us as well that you heard here today, we're not suggesting you let Tony know he should call Chavo about the AEW roster situation. I'm going to tell you not to do that. But anyway,
right.
All right. Time for the mailbag at Wink Daily, WINC Daily over on Twitter. Simple question here to wrap the week up. AEW Revolution's on Sunday. What are you excited for? Is it the title match between Hangman Page and Adam Cole? Is it the dog collar match between MJF and Punk? Or is it the women's title match between Dr. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa? We have about 100 votes here in the last hour. 62.7% dog collar match. 24% Hangman Page, Adam Cole. Only 6.7 for Baker Rosa, and another 6.7 for the rest of the card. Does this surprise you in any way?
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It seems quite. I feel like we had and my dates are all messed up. I feel like we just came off a pay-per-view for AEW. I might be wrong. Oh no, it was WWE and Impact.
Full Gear was the last AEW pay-per-view. I actually had to look that up recently too because I was a little fuzzy on my timeline. No, the last paper was Full Gear.
Okay.
But they've done like Beach Break and like the Slam Dunk one.
Mm-hmm.
They have all these themes now, so it kind of feels like there's always like a
something going on. Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I'm definitely for me personally, obviously the women's match, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, because they always have great chemistry. So that's what I'm looking for. But I the numbers seem quite right for the rest of the wrestling sphere.
Yeah, and Brian Bills here over on Twitch 17. Hi, Brian. He's saying the Adams, and it shouldn't no apostrophe. It's not Adams match. It's Adams match. Double Adams hasn't lived up to the hype. I'm sorry, I proofread and copy all day. So the Adams match, as Jim Ross called it, a post I helped proof. Adam Page, Adam Cole hasn't lived up to the hype. When I hear Tony Khan sell the match to me, I'm like more excited. He's like, look, Hangman's had like the bet, like you didn't like the Lance Archer Texas Death match. You didn't like the dance. It's like, well, I did like those matches, but I don't know. I'm still just not there with this guy right now. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something I can't really commit to. There's just something missing. I don't know if it's time. It's just something missing with them that just, I haven't really been able to. You have some wrestlers where you're just like, yes, you're invested, you're all in to whatever they do, and then there's some wrestlers where it's just like, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's there for MJF CM Punk right now. All right, well, hey, we are right now about 30 seconds away from that Chavo interview debuting, so we'll try to wrap it up here. I have a long outro. I'll try to make it blunt. Come back Monday. We're going to have Bill Apter here, my conversation with Bill. We're also going to have Liam Crowley's conversation with Marcy Rose Brightman. She's got the new pro wrestling series Against the Ropes coming out here soon. You're going to hear all about that. You're also going to get to hear my thoughts from like 1:30 in the morning after the AEW media scrum. I'm going to be in transit Monday, so we're going to run that here as if it was live, hopefully with the other content. But, we'll be back on Tuesday. I'll get to that here in just a second. But Monday, we'll have something for you, and it'll definitely be in the pod feed. I'll be at the scrums. AEW Revolution is in general this weekend. We'll have full coverage on the site. If you like this show, The Wrestling Inc. Daily, support us on whatever podcast platform you like. Support WrestlingInc.com on all the socials. Come back here tonight after SmackDown for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. And yeah, Tuesday I'm going to be back. We're going to make a huge, cool announcement about Tuesday's show on Monday night before Raw. It's not a special, it's not a big interview that I got. It's a special co-host that's going to be joining me on Tuesday. They've never co-hosted this show. I don't think that you would ever probably guess who it is. You absolutely will know who they are when I announce it, but I think it's going to catch everybody off guard. So big tease there to kind of wrap the week up, TK. Ooh. Anything you want to put over here before we wrap up the show today?
I'll just keep it short. Women's History Month. This is March. We have articles dropping every day. We have panels. Go to www.talkpod.com to check all that out, and you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad.
And I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll talk to you on Tuesday. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss.